Hi, it's Mike. In my video this week, I'm going to tell you how to take a 350Z from stock to track ready in the easiest way possible. This is a list based on my experience of the steps you should take to get the most out of the performance of your 350Z at the track. So step one is to take your stock 350Z or G35 out to the track. Make sure it's safe first, but then go out and get a bit of seat time in it. After all, it's not a track build if it never sees the track. So taking your stock car to the track is going to give you a baseline of its performance and a natural sense of the shortcomings the car has that you're going to have to work to overcome as you progress. So what are the natural shortcomings that this car has? First and foremost, its weight distribution is not ideal. And its weight distribution only tends to get worse as you modify it. So it's a front-heavy, rear-wheel drive car, and you'll be fighting that from day one. It's a bit heavy in general. It's a little bit expensive to make power, and front-end grip from the factory is terrible. So those are what you're going to have to work through on this platform in order to make it fast. So if you haven't gotten anything yet and you're wondering which 350Z to start with, you should probably start with the base model. You're going to be replacing a lot of those parts as you go along anyways, and the stock cloth seats that car comes with will keep you out of a fixed back seat a little bit longer. So step two, upgrading the brakes. As you head out with the stock car, you'll find out that the street pads and the OEM fluid can't handle any heat. So upgrading to a high temperature brake pad and something like a high temperature brake fluid is about the first thing you'll have to do. OEM blank rotors are fine and probably encouraged. Stay away from cross-drilled rotors as they're just going to crack. The OEM non-Brembo calipers are fine as long as you maintain them and you don't push them too long. Mine eventually ceased because I didn't maintain them well, and then I needed a replacement. But as long as you maintain them well and you're not out for the full 20 minutes, pushing really hard, these will serve you well for a long time. Eventually, buying a set of used Brembo brakes makes the most sense. It's a simple plug-and-play swap that buys you a lot of fade resistance for a little money. Some people say to swap in a 370Z Akabano setup, but I wouldn't go with that. They're a little bit heavier, and I'm not convinced that their performance is better. So stick with the Brembo, at least that's my advice. There are always big brake kits, but I haven't made it that far yet myself. If a company wants to send me one to review, I'd be open to the idea. Probably not going to happen. So step three, upgrade your radiator and your oil cooler. I know it's a bit boring, but you can't track your car if your car is dead. This is especially important if you live in a hot climate or if you lack discipline and run the full 20-minute sessions flat out all day long. I'm guilty of that. Okay, step four. If you're serious about not being terrible, include 2 GoPro cameras in your track car build. Put 1 camera over your shoulder so you can see your handwork and 1 camera in the footwell so you can see your footwork on the pedals. In the early days, you're going to have instructors, they're going to be helping you, you're going to have coaches, but they can't be on top of you all the time. If you're disciplined about reviewing your video when you're developing your track car is going to end up a lot faster. Step 5, upgrade wheels and tires. You'll need to upgrade to a square wheel and tire setup. That means that the front wheel and tires and the rear wheels and tires are the same size. My setup is an 18 by 10.5 plus 15. Another common size is 18 by 9.5. Look for something lightweight and strong. Forged is best, but NK is a good cost compromise. Look for something under 19 pounds. I currently run a 285 width tire all the way around on my main set of tires. I've run as wide as 305 and as narrow as 265. Square wheel and tire setup does a couple things for you. It's the first step in addressing the terrible front end grip that this car has. You'll notice a huge difference in turn in once you make this change. And second, it's going to give you the ability to rotate tires front to back, and that's good for the durability and longevity of your tires. Step 6, camber arms competition alignment. Before moving on, we'll have to address the alignment problems that this platform has. The OEM front camber arms are not adjustable at all, so that's a big problem. So I currently run about minus 3.7 degrees of camber up front and about minus 2.3 degrees of camber out rear. The only camber arms in the market that can deliver that amount of camber up front on this platform are the SBLs. I'm not sponsored by SBL, but I should be. I should stop giving away all this marketing for free. Regardless, the amount of negative camber you need up front will depend on how tight and technical the circuits you are running. If they're very tight, you may need more negative camber. If they're very long and sweeping, you may need a little less. regardless, you pretty much need the SPL adjustability. Step 7, limited slip differential. This is especially important for the base model cars, which come with an open differential, but it's also important for the viscous limited slip differential cars. You have to remember that those VLSDs are now 9 to 15 years old. Pick a clutch style 1.5 way LSD. You can alter locking for a street car 60% to a track car full 100% lock, and you can do that by altering the clutch pack configurations. While you're in there working, you can change the final drive ratio. That could pay dividends down the road. Anytime you're working in an area, it's a good time to change out the bushings, which I kind of see as a wear and tear item. So I didn't really cover it too much in the guide, but you can change your OEM bushings to solid bushings as you move along through repairs in the car. Step 8, time for shocks, springs, or coilovers. We've addressed a few of the Z's grip imbalances, and now it's time to move on to what every good race car needs is a really good set of shocks. So shocks are king of the track, and you should basically get the best ones that you can afford. There's literally no point developing the car further with cheaping out on shocks. Just so I don't watch people drop money on garbage coilovers anymore, I'm basically straight up telling you to buy a set of Coney yellow sport shocks and Swift spec car springs as your initial setup. If you feel like you're past single adjustable Coneys at this point, I would check out the JRZ coilover lineup, or at least something equivalent. So the basic strategy is to select the most beastly shock that you can afford and then match it to the softest spring that will get the job done without your car bottoming out on the bump stops or on the ground. That's going to maximize your mechanical grip and give you the best handling. The next step is adjustable sway bars and end links. The sway bars assist the suspension springs in reducing body roll, and the end links are adjustable to take the preload out of the suspension. Step 10, time to add some horsepower. This is a video all on its own. I'd recommend just going with all the bolt-ons for now, but this is a platform where the options are there if you want to either go forced induction or with a swap. It's all been laid out for you. But to start off, just go with every single bolt-on and see how that works out. You can always see how the crazy stuff works out later on. The next step, downforce. This is teetering on the point of no return in the transition from street car to track car. At this point, if you wanted to part out, you can still go back to stock and sell the car. Much beyond this, you're only selling the car for pennies on the dollar. So tread carefully from here on out. So the next modification is to add a huge GT wing like this. So these usually require drilling through the hatch to be mounted. Some individuals choose to pick up a secondary hatch from a junkyard just to keep their options open. So right on the heels of the GT wing, you're going to want to add a splitter or maybe some canards just to maintain the handling balance. So up next is weight reduction. Most of this can be done without committing to the car by choosing lightweight parts like wheels, tires, exhaust, removing heavy items like the spare tools, carpets, and even unbolting the passenger seat. You might also consider a lightweight battery. These changes alone would yield about 175 pounds of weight loss. A carbon hatch with a rear Lexan window would save about another 75 pounds. That weight would come out easily and the car would still have a full interior. Or, you could just cut out everything. So if you're serious about preparing a track car, weight reduction is about the best change that you can make. Like I mentioned, weight balance will get much worse as you take weight out. The 350Z was advertised as being a bit front heavy, and I suspect it was a little front heavier than they let on. My current weight distribution is 57 on the front and 43 on the back, and it's rear wheel drive. It's just something you're gonna have to fight the entire time as you go along. But with a bit of planning and with a little bit of smart adjustments, you can overcome that. So step 13, now that the car is fully gutted, you're ready for a cage. Either a 6-point cage or a welded in 4-point cage with a harnessed fixed back seat and a quick release steering wheel. You'll probably want a helmet with a Hans at the same time. All of those things should basically be done together for safety reasons. You basically now have a dedicated full track. And that's pretty much it. Now we have a full dedicated track car. There's still lots that can be done, all the crazy stuff, and it's just an extension of the things that we've done already. You can add crazy amounts of downforce, crazy aerodynamic improvements, crazy power upgrades. There are handling upgrades that I didn't touch on because they're things that you'll do as things break or as you need specific alignment improvements. But regardless, that's the guide. So I hope you liked it. I know the production value was really bad. I did the best I could. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. I'll be sure to touch on them. And until next time, coming up this weekend, I have CSCS Time Attack Round 3, the championships at Toronto Motorsports Park. And I just signed up for the speed ring competition in Detroit, Michigan. September 30th, October 1st. I'm excited for those competitions coming up. Anyways, follow along. We'll see how we do.